So today's watch I think is something very interesting. It's from Dutch brand Batavi. Now they are based in the Netherlands, but the co-owner Mike actually lives very close to me in Calgary. So I was fortunate enough to be able to borrow this watch for a couple of weeks, spend some time really getting to know it, with it on the wrist, and see what it's all about. Now this watch is a very interesting one for me to borrow because in the back of my mind I've always had a little bit of a niggling doubt about chronographs powered by Seagull ST19 movements that are priced 1,000 Canadian dollars and upwards. I just guess I remember too well the times a few years ago where anything with a Seagull ST19 movement was, no more than a few $100. And that's probably not realistic in today's market unless you are on AliExpress. And secondly, my opinion with this is showing no regard for design, fit and finish that can be achieved by micro brands. So I want to address this preconception in my mind about ST19 powered chronographs from micro brands, and I think this is a great watch to do it with. Let's get into it. Okay, so as always, we'll start with some specs on this one. So this is a 38mm. It's a manually wound chronograph and it's inspired by vintage yacht timers. You might pick that up in this colorway and also the other colorways as well. They're all very bright, very vibrant. 46mm lug to lug, 20mm lug width and 13.5mm thickness, which may sound a decent amount, but a lot of that is the high domed sapphire crystal, which we will talk about a little bit more. 50 meters of water resistance, kind of par for the course with a chronograph. ST1901 movement, so that means two subdials here, one for running seconds and one for a 30-minute counter. And of course, as mentioned already, yep, hand wound. And in terms of design with this one, I think Batavi have done a great job. They've captured the theme with the yacht timers. The colors on this are great. It's a glossy black dial, and then you've got these pink, purple and green kind of pastel colors, which work really, really nicely. It looks convincingly very vintage, and I absolutely love the Italics Marina chronograph at the bottom there. In terms of functionality, I mean, it's very legible with the numerals there, and although you do have that pastel color on the hands, which can occasionally get a little bit lost when it's directly over the subdials, I actually think it's quite a legible watch and certainly something that you could use every day. Handset chosen for this one, well, the chronograph hand is a hollowed out arrow and you've got syringe, hour and minute hands. Again, I think it works really well with the design. Yeah, absolutely no complaints. So we need to talk about the sapphire crystal here, and this gorgeous domed vintage inspired sapphire is awesome. I absolutely love it. It has really good clarity head on, it has decent AR, but it's the vintage distortions around the edge, which I always love. If you've seen reviews in the past, something that always excites me on a watch, and this piece is just, yeah, it's fantastic. It feels vintage, but having the protection of sapphire, yep, I would say that this is the best of both worlds. Looking at the case, it's very well finished. It certainly lives up to the expectations of the price point. That's 649 euros, by the way. I'll put the US dollar and Canadian dollar on the screen as well. Brushing is super high quality, and the angled chamfers certainly elevate the case and make it feel more premium. Of course, this being a chronograph, you've got the two pushers on the right hand side. Nothing remarkable to say about them. If you've operated a Seagull movement before, you'll know how they feel, and yeah, easy to use. And then we have the crown here, engraved with the Batavi logo, which is a good addition, but the most important thing that we need to say about the crown is that it is slightly oversized, which makes hand winding really easy. Now, when I bought my Ferro Portobello chronograph not so long ago, I noticed the crown was a bit small, and I can't remember, I think I might have mentioned it in the review, but I didn't expect it to become as annoying over a long period of time as it is. I actually hate winding this watch because the crown is so small. I find it fiddly and it stops me wearing it as much as I should. So I know long term having a suitably sized crown like you've got on this watch is absolutely vital, I think, to maintain your satisfaction as the days turn into weeks and months. So thumbs up to Batavi for that. Hey, just a quick note, hopefully you're enjoying today's video on this beautiful Batavi chronograph. But just wanted to say, if you are enjoying it, please don't hesitate to like the video, subscribe to the channel and turn on the bell notification icon. And thank you so much to all of my returning subscribers. Back to the watch. Fixed bezel around the dial, and you've got polishing on the chamfer and brushing on the upper surface there. If we look at the bracelet a little bit, the end links, they're very well integrated. The fit is nice and snug up against the case. There's no play there like we see on similarly priced Seikos. And I really like the bracelet. Again, it's angular, it matches the case, and it's got these lovely chamfers on every single link. So again, it feels like a premium bracelet. And of course, you've got milled clasp, inner and outer, with micro adjust in there. And one of the reasons people love these Seagull movements, and myself included, is that regardless of the fact that they're still, relatively speaking, a budget movement, they do look great. They look absolutely fantastic when you turn the watch over. You can see everything working. There's nice coloring in there with the blued screws. Now, of course, when you go close under macro, you'll still see, yes, it's a budget chronograph movement. Some of the finishing looks good at a distance, but obviously up close, it shows that it is a mass-produced movement from China. But I don't mean that in any negative way, it's just the reality of what it is. And of course, one of the challenges for micro brands is that outside of this, the only other, I guess, semi-affordable chronograph movement, automatic or hand wound, would be the Seiko NE88. That's a lot thicker, so it changes your proportions. I don't think you'd be able to put this lovely domed sapphire on this watch if you had an NE88, and I think the base price is also still significantly more than a Seagull ST19 movement. Going above that, then you're looking at ETAs and you're into a whole new world of pricing. So, I mean, it probably is the best option. If I've missed any other affordable chronograph, automatic or hand wound movements, let me know in the comments. So as far as how the watch actually wears on the wrist, I think it wears true to a 38mm. It is a nice size, although I think some of the guys with much larger wrists might find this one a little bit dainty. It certainly works in terms of sizing with a vintage feel. I haven't had any issues with comfort. The quick adjust is easy enough to use on a hot day, and because the bracelet is very well finished, there's no sharp edges, everything is chamfered. The weight balance across the head of the watch and the bracelet is also very nice. Yeah, it's been super comfortable. I've not at any point had any desire to take it off through any kind of discomfort. I would say it's been a really positive experience on the wrist, and I did wear it straight for around about 10 or 11 days. How does it look on the time grapher? Well, yeah, no complaints. Of course, there's a little bit higher variance between positions than you'll get on the Swiss counterparts, but again, it's to be expected with a more budget movement. Generally speaking, I think the ST19s hold time pretty well in my experience, and I've had a couple long term over multiple years and never had an issue. So I don't expect you will either. And finally, before we go over the pros and cons as a summary, how about the loom? Well, those of you that watch a lot of watch reviews probably know what I'm going to say, because as soon as you color the loom, you certainly lose strength, and this watch is no different. The orange tinged loom looks great in the daytime, but once we come to night, it loses its effectivity very quickly. And to be honest, outside of the first sort of 10 or 15 minutes, you may as well discount the loom full stop. This one is definitely not a watch for pitch black scenarios, but that's why you have a collection, right? Okay, so let's summarize the pros and cons on this. So for me, the biggest positives with this, the design is fantastic, the color is awesome. I actually think it's a little bit Farah-esque, but on a budget, in terms of being a mechanical chronograph with an exceptional use of color. I love the compact sizing. Personally, the crystal is absolutely like the standout thing on this watch. And I can say there's definitely premium finishing across the bracelet and the case, and that well-sized crown is essential. The drawbacks for me, obviously the lume is poor. You need to be aware of that just so you're not disappointed. Something I did notice on the review unit is there is a small defect. I think it's an installation mark perhaps on the hour hand. So I didn't pick this up at all until I got the macro camera out. You'll see it just here. When I spoke to Mike, of course, if you were to receive a unit like this, the guys will help you out. They would have no problem in swapping out the hands or swapping out the watch for you. In terms of Batavi, I have really good experience with the brand. However, if I see something on a review unit, I do have to point it out. Final point, just a really minor improvement from my side, and you might disagree on this one, but the fixed bezel, I actually think should be full polish, including that facet on the top around the dial. I just think it would match better with the glossy black dial, which is very kind of shiny, but it's a really minor point and it certainly wouldn't stop me, and didn't stop me, enjoying this watch during the time I spent with it. Anyway, I would like to come back to my discussion around ST19 chronographs at a more elevated price, and for that we need to go to the conclusion. Okay, so coming to a conclusion on the Batavi Marina chronograph. Now the question I posed myself was whether a Seagull ST19 powered watch could really justify 1,000 Canadian in terms of pricing, and I suspected I was probably going to be proven wrong because, I mean, Studio Underdog, for example, has been a massive success with their watches. Again, they're using the Seagull ST19, but they're putting it in an elevated package. They're using great design, great color, and people seem to really enjoy those watches. And I would say that, yes, I've certainly softened on this feeling. I think there's enough in this Batavi Marina chronograph to say that if I went out and purchased this watch for the 649 euros, the fit, the finish, the design, the use of color, the cohesion between all of the components, I think it really is a pleasure to wear. It stands up well, it feels good on the wrist, it feels good in the hand. And you know what? If I didn't have my Fera Portobello chronograph, which kind of fills the same space in my collection, I might have considered actually buying one of these. I really love the Arabic numeral fade dial, which I'll just show on the screen now. I think that is absolutely stunning. Although all of them look great, the white with the blue as well is very, very crisp. So yeah, there is enough here. And I guess we are in a new world where, you know what, it's okay to have watches with the ST19 that are sitting around this price point, and actually micro brands are able to bring enough added value to make this package work. I certainly enjoyed my time with this watch. I still rate Batavi very highly in the micro brand world, especially for their designs, but that's just me. So let me know in the comments, what do you think? What do you think about Batavi? What do you think about this Marina chronograph? And what do you think about the influx of premium ST19 chronographs from micro brands, and where do you stand in that discussion? Anyway, thank you so much for watching, and hopefully I will catch you on the next one. Cheers.